Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 21st of May 2017 and the 13th of Bachans, 17:33 AM. I'm Andre Botros. In today's headlines, Trump lashes out over special counsel appointment. Riot police block Venezuela's grandparents' march. Oil prices rise as Saudi and Russia agree to prolong output curbs. Worldwide cyber attacks, fewer aftershocks than feared. And Maria Sharapova denied a wildcard to play at the French Open. To our first story, President Donald Trump lashes out on Thursday at the appointment of the special counsel made by his own Justice Department to oversee the federal investigation into Russia interference in 2016 election with a possible collusion with his campaign. President Trump tweeted, "With all that is illegal acts that took place in the Clinton campaign and Obama administration, there was never a special counsel appointed. This is the single greatest witch hunt of a politician in American history." Trump had been silent on Twitter about the Russia controversy in the wake of the bombshell reports that he asked former FBI Director James Comey to back off the investigation of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. The Justice Department appointed former FBI Director Robert Murrell as special counsel Wednesday to oversee the investigation, which has focused on contacts between Trump's campaign associates and the Russian officials. The move aimed to quell the wave of criticism facing Trump administration since the president fired Comey last week as the investigation intensified. According to the Justice of Department order, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein signed Mueller that authorized to prosecute federal crimes arising from the investigation of those matters. Trump first responded Wednesday in a crisp 57-word statement saying a thorough investigation will confirm that we already know there was no collusion between my campaign and my foreign entity, adding that he looked forward to the speedy resolution to the probe. Trump's tweets on Thursday echoed comments he made the day before the United States Coast Guard Academy graduation ceremony, where he claimed that no politician in history, and I say this with great surety, has been treated worse or more unfairly. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will likely take a wish list to his meeting with the US President Donald Trump on Tuesday. At the very top, he'll call to scrap the US plan to arm Kurdish rebels in Syria. Turkey and the United States are key NATO allies, but their relationship has been complicated by the US strategy on Syria by Washington's refusal to extradite the Turkish clerk who Erdogan claims was behind the failed coup in Turkey last year. Here is what's likely to be a topic of discussion in their talks. Number 1, US Army Kurdish fighters. 2, Turkey's relationship with Russia over Syria. And 3, extradition of Erdogan's rival Gulen. Erdogan has been criticized widely for the purge of Western leaders who accuse him of taking on a dictatorial role. These also condemned his recent referendum win to change the constitution, which could essentially see him leading the country until as late 2029. But Trump was one of those first leaders to get on the phone and congratulate Erdogan for his victory, so it is unclear whether he will express any concerns over the development. Iraqi officials say that ISIS now only controls 1/10 of the city, but they anticipate that the final most difficult phase is yet to come. Iraqi forces are preparing for a push on the 17th of Tammuz neighborhood, named after the 1968 coup d'etat that brought the Ba'ath Party to power. On June 6, 2014, ISIS fighters entered Mosul through this neighborhood, and within hours were in full control of the whole city. This was the start of an offensive that saw ISIS take control of the cities of Baji and Tikrit, and eventually took them to the outskirts of Baghdad. 2 Iraqi soldiers step in front of the Humvee, raising his phone. One takes a selfie of the two in front of their trophy. For a moment they flash a smile. They had pills in their pockets. That's how they kept fighting, one of the soldiers says. His comrades killed the ISIS fighters earlier in the afternoon, where they tried to sneak from ISIS-held 17th Tammuz, or the 17th July neighborhood, into the adjacent Musharifa district in Mosul. ISIS renamed the 17th Tammuz to Fatah, harking back to the lighting conquest of the early Islamic empire that spread the realm from the Atlantic to the borders of the Indian subcontinent. On Friday, the face of the latest in almost daily series of sometimes deadly protests against the government of President Nicolas Maduro changed from bandana-wearing, rock-throwing rage of the country's youth to the lined faces and mournful eyes of its oldest citizens. Thousands of elderly Venezuelans, some accompanied by their grandchildren, encountered lines of Riot police officers blocking parts of the so-called Grandparents' March through the streets of Caracas. Some demonstrators pushed against the plastic shields of the officers, who at times responded with bursts of pepper spray, according to videos posted on social media. A video posted by Caracas Mayor Helen Fernandez showed that marchers shielding their faces from what she said was police pepper spray. Venezuelans have been suffering from severe shortages of food and medicine. Protests have raged across the country since the Venezuelan Supreme Court stacked the president's loyalist attempt to take away legislative power from the opposition-led National Assembly in late March. Many blame Maduro for the crisis, which intensified after his administration barred opposition leader Henrique Capriles from running of any political office for 15 years. International observers have accused the government for taking heavy-handed response to the protest, including the firing of tear gas canisters and water cannons. At least 38 Venezuelans have died since the unrest began. Protesters Rafael Prieto, an 80-year-old cab driver, said that the government repression against the marchers saddened him. Prieto said that he had wished for one of his grandchildren for the best of his life with peace, food and medicine. Major oil producers are preparing to extend output cuts until March 2018 in a bid to reduce a global supply glut. The energy ministers of OPEC, kingpin Saudi Arabia, and its biggest non-OPEC partner, Russia, met Monday and agreed to do whatever it takes to achieve a desired role of stabilizing the market. Russia's energy ministry said that in a statement, OPEC and some non-OPEC producers agreed in December to cut output by 1.8 million barrels per day for 6 months to help stabilize oil prices. That deal is due to expire at the end of June. The Saudi and Russian ministers said that they would lobby other producers to achieve full consensus on prolonging the policy supply of restrained meeting next week. The ministry added that the world oil prices jumped on Monday, the US crude futures trading 3% firmer, more than the $49 a barrel. The supply cut has helped prices recover from a low of $26 a barrel early last year. Desperate attempts to contain the world's biggest cyber attack appear to be working. European law enforcement agency Europol said Monday that the number of infected computers has not increased as expected, which is a success. The attack has hit at least 150 countries and infected 300,000 machines, according to the US officials. Hospitals, universities, manufacturers and government agencies in Britain, China, Russia, Germany and Spain have all been affected. Analysts have feared that this ransomware attack has started spreading on Friday and could accelerate as workers return to their desks after the weekend and turned off on compromised working machines. While the effect on the companies is not America's was not yet clear, aftershocks elsewhere from the Wanrency virus have also far been in mild. Europol said that people have updated security systems over the last hours. Leanne Owens, Director General of the UK's National Crime Agency, said that there's no indication of the second surge of cases. Russian President Vladimir Putin described the threat as serious, but said Monday that it had caused no significant damage to the country's institutions. Chinese internet company Qihoo 360 said Saturday that a large number of colleagues and students in the country had been affected by ransomware, which is also referred to as WannaCrypt. State media reported that digital payment systems at some gas stations were offline, forcing customers to pay cash. The attacks weren't as widespread in the United States, as a Homeland Security official told CNN on Monday that a small number of the country's infrastructure systems were hit. The official declined to go into specifics but said none of the disruptions were significant. Maria Sharapova will not play at this year's French Open after organisers decided not to grant her, the two-time champion, a wildcard into the tournament. Sharapova, 30, recently returned from a 15-month doping ban after admitting she had used a banned hormone and a metabolic modulator. Meldonian Bernard Guiducelli, president of the French Tennis Federation, said via Facebook Live broadcast, if there can be a wildcard return for injuries, there cannot be a wildcard return for doping. He continues, I'm very sorry for Maria, very sorry for her fans. They might be very disappointed and she might be very disappointed, but it is my mission to protect the game and to protect the high standards that the game is played without any doubts on the results. And to our final story in health, according to experts, the idea that people can be fat but medically fit is a myth. Their early work, as yet unpublished, involving looking at GP records of 3.5 million people in the UK. They say people who were obese but who had no initial signs of heart disease, diabetes or high cholesterol were not protected from ill health in later life, contradicting previous research. A summary of their study was discussed at the European Congress on Obesity. The term fat but fit refers to the alluring theory that if people are obese but all their other metabolic factors such as blood pressure and blood sugar levels are within recommended limits, then the extra weight will not be harmful. In this study, researchers of the University of Birmingham analysed data on the millions of British patients between 1995 and 2015 to see if this claim was held true. They tracked people who were obese at the start of the study, defined as people with a body mass index of 30 or more, who had no evidence of heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol or diabetes at this point. They found these people who were put in obesity but metabolically healthy were at higher risk of developing heart disease, strokes and heart failure than people of normal weight. And that is all for our CYC news for today. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout our week on YouTube. I'm Andrew Botros from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Have a good night and God bless.